Well, I guess I should probably start off by saying, well, no, I guess I still have today
You
to
still have
figure it out.
today to pull together
Yeah, a
a
theme
song. You
song.
got to pull together a theme song
Yeah,
today.
okay. All right, I do have to do it
Pressure's
today.
on.
Yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
say that I don't have, but I just don't have it now, but I will have it before this actually goes on
yeah, actually,
on
you know
air.
what? Let's don't change this recording. But what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that wow, I really like that theme song entrance. See, perfect.
Okay, perfect.
So, wait, before we start, I actually have sort of a topic I want to talk about. It's sort of
Okay.
arty. We're not doing this. Isn't going to be the zip line channel. I know we had a good zip line talk yesterday. And a lot of people were. We got results, and a lot of people were very excited about the zip line talk. But where is it? The timer? Okay, good. So I have a question. Oh wait. I'm
Did you
sorry.
start?
I'm sorry. No, I haven't. Of course, I haven't.
Okay.
I couldn't start. Hi, Andrew.
Hello, Brandon.
Start that timer.
Oh yeah.
Boom. Okay.
All right.
It's such a fun start. But in looking at myself, I want to talk about art.
Mhm.
An art thing. I want to talk about a thing that we don't talk about a lot in the field, but for some stuff we do, but for in other divisions we don't. I want to talk about the toll that doing your art takes on your body and how to better deal with that.
Mhm.
Stuff that is surprising. I don't know if you can sort of see it in the color. My skin up here and here is just screwed up real bad right now because of mascot work. I got a head that rubs against my
Mhm.
forehead,
Mhm.
and I'm sweating and it never really escapes. So it's really, and I think next season I gotta figure out a skiing regimen because I can't keep having this. And
Yeah.
that's something that like I don't think people think about. I
Mhm.
know that it's like, oh man, dancers, it's really hard on their feet. Famously, point dancers, it's really, really hard on your feet. Um, and I
Mhm.
know like sometimes when I listen to ACDC, I can't help but think about how like the lead singer just went deaf.
Mhm.
Um, and like there's so much when we don't talk about and carpal tunnel and sudden pains and
Yeah.
the emotional stuff, but I think we don't talk about the not the mental stuff that hurts you, but the physical stuff that you have to go through to be able to perform whatever it is. It really doesn't matter what it is. If you're singing, it's voice. If you're talking a lot, it's a different type of voice.
Mhm.
Uh, what do you have to go through as someone who does guitar? Like, what is physical pain that you didn't expect? And
Yeah.
also, how do you prepare specifically for what you do and in general? How do you think you deal with that?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right because like there are the obvious things that people have to deal with, like with feet for dancers and hands for guitarists and stuff like that. But it's I think a lot of the unexpected stuff, like mascot work, like that's a really fascinating example because like what I would think of immediately would be like, okay, it's hot as hell inside the mascot suit and like, okay, you've got to deal with that. But then like the fact that you have this stuff rubbing against their skin, like that's totally something that I would never think about, and probably most people never would, I think. um and I think that's true. I think there's always and it's not just the arts or whatever. There's everyone has their own, but yes, but since we're talking about the arts, so I
Yeah,
think with yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
can't. I'm sure everything. Unfortunately, everything under capitalism hurts, and we can't do anything about it. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Well, and it's also interesting because I think that the more people that I've met recently, because we've kind of like talked about this, since the pandemic, and going out and like meeting people and stuff like that. Like that actually one of the things that I have thought about, and noticed is that a lot of people do just sort of kind of live with pain that they don't talk about.
mhm.
Which I mean, that in a way, not that we shouldn't talk about things, but it's also like, okay, no one wants to talk about it all the time, right? So it's like, okay, so you just live your life and you sort of deal with the pain, but it's kind of interesting, there are a lot of hidden ailments, I think, with all kinds of things. One of the things that I had to deal with actually, I mean, this is a long time ago when I was in college, but because of like the way you hold the guitar,
Mhm.
it's not really a necessarily a natural
Mhm.
position. And during college, especially for music, you're sort of famously expected to practice like 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and of course that takes a toll. So one of the things that I had to deal with, there was some sort of nerve that was like in this part of the arm,
Hmm.
that was getting strained, damaged, and that's weird. It's like, okay, I mean, it's connected to your arm, of course, but still, like, who would have thought, about a little nerve like in your elbow, right? That's there. And then actually, a lot of times, like with classical guitar specifically, because you're sitting in this kind of weird position, and depending on how you hold it, you're holding your leg up in the air to hold the guitar, and there's like lower back pain that results from that kind of thing. So um, I feel like I now I definitely do a lot more uh, you know stretching, yoga, that kind of thing.
Do you do
Um,
it right before, or do you do it like, is it a second regiment that you do?
well, it's kind of both. I've got sort of like a nighttime routine,
Hmm.
stretch routine. But then, before playing, I'll stretch arms and bodies and stuff like that. And that's actually something with my students that I do, that I try to instill, just
Hmm.
when we have the ensemble, band orchestra rehearsals, then at the beginning, I always have them, do this, 5, 7 minute little stretch routine. And it's nothing really like big, but it's really more just the idea to kind of get them in the habit of getting your body warmed up. And what I tell them actually is that musicians are athletes.
Hmm.
Um, and we don't think of, musicians as athletes because we're not running around or scoring goals or whatever, that kind of thing. But we are using our muscles, we are using our bodies in a physical way. And so we have to, treat ourselves in the same way that athletes would.
Yeah. It's one of those things, we've talked about this a lot, is the comparison between athleticism, not athleticism, specifically sport compared to what art, and where,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of places that it overlaps, and a lot of it is story
Mm,
and what story is. And I think sport is inherently about story, and art, I think, in all versions is somehow about story, even if that story is like a bigger
mm,
thing than the actual piece. If you're looking inside the piece or outside of the piece, it's where that story is.
mm,
But uh it's easy to forget, I think, that just because it isn't sport, it doesn't mean it's not incredibly physical. And it's
mm,
interesting, and it's interesting that you bring this up, the nerve, because this hand, my left hand, is right now. This is just funny. I think I might have to figure out how to do it, but my left hand, I'm having gripping problems with it
mm,
because 6 days a week right now, I'm for uh, an hour, maybe half hour at the very beginning of the game to do first pitches, and
mm,
I have this comically large glove, and
mm,
that's great. But I have to carry this big glove like pinched like
mm.
this
Oh yeah.
for a while working and walking and doing stuff. So, oh, she's gone. Ugh. So like my hand is all screwed up. So there's stuff like you expect, like, oh, everyone knows about the heat, everyone knows about, like, you can sort of figure out, like, if you're sweating and it's not going anywhere, weird stuff is happening to your skin.
Yeah.
I desperately need to get rid of this beard. um that's today's job. I noticed it, but it's also like weird stuff will just go wrong is as
Yeah.
you do stuff for performance that you don't expect.
Yeah.
And you sort of have to be able to go, you have to be able to figure out what is wrong
Mm,
and what is causing it, because it's not always immediate what's wrong, what's causing it. And
mm.
then you're going to have to, if you're going to continue to do this regularly, shift it, because you shouldn't make yourself work in that amount of pain,
Yeah.
like if it's hurting. It's the doctor joke. It hurts when I do this, well, don't do that.
Right.
uh and that's what it feels like sometimes when trying to do a performance over and over again. You
Yeah.
have to find the stuff that is hard on your body or exhausting you too much, or
Mm,
because a lot of mascot work, which we're kind of talking about specifically today, a lot of it is exhaustion control and
Mhm.
going, boy, they are scoring a lot today. I'm super pleased about that.
Mhm.
But this is going to be fine because if I run across the stadium every single time they make a score today, I'm I'm gonna die. Like I'm gonna explode. The thing. Do you know what's inside every dead mascot? A dead person. So like you have to think about your. I think in any performance you are almost always running a marathon. It's very rarely a sprint. Even if it is a sprint, it's several sprints back to back. It's
Yeah.
not one sprint once in your life. It
Mhm.
is you have to the even if you are sprinting in your performance, you are sprinting over and over again and you're trying to figure out how you can sprint over and over again.
Mhm.
And perhaps there are people, there's a leave it on the field, give it your all. I get that. But also, you got to figure out how you can come back the next week, the next
Mhm.
day, the next year, and do. And I think the ability to upkeep your body is more important than I think we give it credit for. I think it's easy to ignore it and go, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's sport, not art." Unless except for
Yeah.
like maybe dance, but I think in a lot of stuff it's easy to go, "Well, I'm so creative, I don't have to think about the art part of this the sport part of this art. I have to
Yeah.
think about the art part of this art."
Well, and I think that, and I don't know. I mean, I'm always cautious about using the word like harder in comparison to other things, but I think what is a challenge for a lot of musicians is that, um, and this might apply to, people in theater as well. I'm not sure, but like with musicians, I think, um, there's not necessarily a large overlap with people who are interested in, you know, being exercise conscious,
Yeah.
and and like I mean, and I'll admit, I mean, like I do, uh, the kind of exercise that I like is like biking and hiking and running.
Hmm.
I'm not, I don't play football, I don't play basketball, that kind of stuff, I do like the kind of exercise. I like to go to the gym. I like to, I like that kind of exercise. But even so, I'm not, where whenever we talk about stuff on this podcast, it's always good to say that I'm not or we're not experts or anything like that. It's just stuff to talk about, because I'm definitely not always the best person at finding the kind of stuff that you're talking about, like finding the causes, finding the results, or finding the remedies. I'm not always the best person at analyzing that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But it's but I think it's possible I haven't, and knock on wood, I mean, like, maybe tomorrow I'll have a problem, but it's possible I haven't had as many problems as I've noticed with others, is because I do tend to have, an exercise conscious lifestyle, so,
No, yeah. I
um,
mean, one of the it's it. I think you can comfortably say that on
mhm,
some level, and it's not
mhm,
an insult to anyone. It's just part of what the lie is the guitar is the only instrument that you use, not your entire body. Your
mhm,
instrument is your body. The guitar is part of the instrument.
yeah,
Um, and keeping that working is a important part of it. And I think it's also one of those questions. I don't know if we talked about this before. It's in the Steve Martin book that everybody read, Born Standing Up. It's a good book. Um, it's easy to be great sometimes. It's hard to be good all of the time. It's such an important concept,
mhm,
and I think that's a thing I think we touch on either abstractly or specifically
yeah,
pretty often. But it's the idea of, but one of the ways that you do that is keeping, and it doesn't have to be crazy. And it's easy to fall off. And I'm not saying that if you're being unhealthy, you shouldn't participate in
yeah,
art. What I am saying, I think, and I could be wrong, is a any participation in art in a meaningful way in a capitalist society is going to have negative side effects on your
mhm,
body. And that's just how that is, and that sucks. But that's that you're gonna have to be able to repeat it over and over again. And there are people who are so far above that it doesn't affect them. But you kind of have to know that playing 5 hours a day is going to screw up, something. And that's an agreement that you make. That's a thing that you go, okay, I'm okay with this.
Mhm.
And that's true for everything. But if you're going to do this, it's going to be the weird stuff's going to show
Mhm.
up. And I think the other side of that is you have to prepare for that to go wrong, and you don't know exactly what's going to go wrong, but you have to try. It's easier if you're healthier. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? If you're living healthier, it's a little bit easier than if you're not living healthy. And unfortunately, art has the type of art we do puts us in pub food, which is the
Yeah.
opposite of healthy.
Yeah. And
Like,
ever since we've had that talk, like, like I notice it so much now. Oh my God. It's like, and it's so bad. And like, oh my God, I feel so sick after eating it. It's like, so,
all pub food is identical no matter what, and like,
yeah.
and it's always, and I know we come back to it all the time.
Mhm.
Brewery food, yeah,
Yeah.
it's always like a little too rich. Oh,
Yeah.
not for the people who work there. The brewery food is not for the people who work there. And if
Right.
you're there and you're getting paid, you're working there, so act like it.
Exactly. Yeah, and just to wrap up real quick, the I also wanted to mention like that I think it's like getting to the old man talk, but I think when you're younger, you do bounce back quicker,
Mhm.
and so it's easier to take these kind of things for granted. But I think like as as the years go on, you have more experiences with injuries, more experiences with things like this, and you tend to have be a little more conscious of stuff like this, I think. So yeah.
Break.
All right. Peace.